But what we are here to do is talk a lot about HKU Business School. My name is Mike. I am with Clear Admit, a really great resource for folks who are applying to MBA programs. If you have not heard of our site, or you have not really checked us out long enough, come on by clearadmit.com. There's a lot of great things to check out, a lot of great advice on how to get into the top business schools and things to look out for in the application process. But specific to HKU Business School and specific to studying abroad, we have the Senior Executive Director at HKU Business School, Sachin Tipnis, who will be speaking with you a lot of great information, because not only is he the Senior Executive Director, he also is an alumnus of the program, so can speak on his own experience, which is always great to see in admissions positions, folks who have been through the program. So tonight's session is going to be very interactive. We're going to take a lot of questions from the audience. We're going to have that presentation as we go through. And please sit back and enjoy, and I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you, Mike. So just want to make sure that you can hear me clearly, Mike.
I can, yes.
Lovely. I hope the folks out there can also hear me. So thank you very much for joining us today for the information session of the University of Hong Kong's MBA program. So I'm going to make a kind of a presentation to talk about what our full-time program is all about. But as Mike said, that we will be very happy to take questions. I think that interaction with you is more important because you might have very specific questions. So how about I share the screen with the presentation first, and let's go through that first. Great. So I hope you can see the presentation on your screen and you can hear me. So let's get moving. So whenever you're thinking about doing a presentation, there are three things when you're thinking of making sure that you're getting into the right MBA program. Three things you must keep in mind: the reputation of the institution where you're going to do your MBA, the recognition of that particular MBA degree, and of course, what kind of a network are you going to get at that particular MBA program. At Hong Kong U, we are really proud about the reputation, what we have built over a period of time. So when you look at Hong Kong U is more than 100-year-old institution, right? And it's built its reputation over a period of time. Our MBA program is also, I think, really important. And at Hong Kong U, because we have built this reputation over a period of time. And so when you come to this region, if you are already in this region, you would know that the reputation of our institution, reputation of the University of Hong Kong is extremely strong, which means that your degree, your MBA is going to be well recognized. And this is critical because you're not going to do your MBA again and again, right? So you're going to do it once, and you want to make sure that this investment of yours, I mean, there's a lot of resources which go into doing your MBA, is well recognized by the market being all the stakeholders, your next employer, the organization you're working for, friends, family. Overall, the recognition and reputation is important because MBA is something which will remain with you all throughout your life, right? All your career is going to be based a lot on this degree, what you're going to attain. And that's why the kind of network you are going to get is also important. Now, because Hong Kong U is a very comprehensive university, we have not just MBA, which is in full-time mode, we also have a part-time mode where we have executives working in Hong Kong and the surrounding region, also participating in an MBA program. We also have an eMBA program. We also have 7 specialized master programs. So your business school network is going to be very broad and it's going to be very deep. And that's why we believe that HKU, being the first and foremost university in Hong Kong and one of the leading universities in Asia, is able to provide you this reputation, recognition, and network. Now, of course, another R is very important, ranking, right? But ranking is something which I would say contributes to the reputation and the recognition of the overall brand, the overall degree, the overall university. And Hong Kong U has been doing well in ranking. So let's go to the next slide, and you can see on your screen that in the world of ranking, maybe Economist, Financial Times, Wall Street Journal, Forbes, QS, these are the big names. And you can see probably we are the only school in the world, one of the few, which is ranked in every ranking. And this is critical because each ranking, as you know, uses different parameters. So if FT uses probably the salary as a major base, maybe economist uses the work experience and the overall experience at the school as an important parameter. So you can see that it means that if we are ranked well across different rankings, we are doing well on different parameters. So it's not that we are doing very well on one parameter. In all the other rankings, we are missing. So from economist to FT to Wall Street, which is a Times ranking, Forbes ranking, and of course the QS ranking, we have been doing quite well. So I think this is something which we are very proud of. And interesting enough, Poets and Cons came up with this consolidated ranking, right? So they came up with a ranking which is kind of a composite ranking that looked at FT, Economist, Bloomberg Businessweek, and Forbes, and then they came up with a ranking for the decade or so. And you can see we were #1 in Hong Kong. We were ranked number 18 in the international MBA. So we do believe that this again showcases that in terms of ranking, we have been doing extremely well. Business Because, another very popular portal, has also ranked us #3 best business school for international students. And we are the only Asian business school to make to this list. So we do believe that this is another very important consideration, because international students have a very different requirement when they are looking at business schools. So we are able to provide them the right, I would say, atmosphere. We're able to provide them the right knowledge, and of course the career services, which I'll be talking to you in a few minutes from now. So one of the very important, and I would say a differentiating factor, what Hong Kong U brings to the table in terms of the MBA program, it's the regional perspective. Okay, it's very important that when students from whichever part of the world you're coming into Asia, the fact that you're choosing Hong Kong, that means you have certain interest in Asia. And given that interest, it's very important that we are able to provide you very strong regional perspective, how to do business in this part of the world, or how to do business in not just in Greater China, but around Asia region. And how do we achieve that? We achieve that through content. So the kind of case studies, the kind of material the professors will be using, of course, delivery. It's the professors who also are doing a great amount of consulting work in this part of the world. So they are able to bring in their experience back to the class. And of course, student diversity, people coming from all walks of life, from different regions, different countries. But at the same time, I would say around 50%, 50% of our class will come from Asia. So they are able to bring in their Asian experience back to the class. So through the content, delivery, and student diversity, we are able to achieve that strong regional perspective. We do use a lot of cases from our Asia Case Research Center. So it's a very exclusive case research center wherein we produce cases which are connected to Asia. Now, let me give an example of some of the cases you might be using during your MBA. So that will give you a context to what I'm talking about. So for example, if we are looking at Amazon, so instead of looking at Amazon in markets where it is very mature market, we will look at, say, Amazon in emerging markets, because ultimately in Asia, lots of markets are emerging markets. If you continue to work in Hong Kong, or you work in China, or you work in Singapore, or any part of Asia, that knowledge is very important. So Starbucks, another MNC. So instead of just looking at what Starbucks is doing in Germany or what Starbucks is doing in San Francisco, we will look at what Starbucks is doing in China. How are they managing their growth through innovation in this part of the world? At the same time, we will be also looking at some of the companies which are coming out of Asia. So for example, Uniqlo. Maybe some of you have heard, this is a Japanese retail brand and is doing extremely well. Or Tencent. Tencent is one of the fastest growing companies in the world. They are majorly into gaming, they are majorly into messaging, and we will be able to look at all these case studies to see how these Asian companies are expanding to the world. We'll look at also some very topical cases, like for example, we will look at managing with analytics at P&G. As people would know that if you're thinking marketing now, everything is analytics. A lot of consumer data is used. So a big company like Procter & Gamble is using analytics to make decisions on where to market, how to market, and who to target and how to target. And we will be using these very topical cases. Or, we can take the US-China economic relation, because ultimately trade policies play a very important role in the way the business is conducted. So this is very topical. Again, we will pick up case like US-China economic relation, which path is going towards and how it impacts the business. So lots of case studies. By the time you finish the HKU MBA, you've gone through hundreds of real case studies. So once the professors teach you the basic concepts and theory, they quickly get into real cases like this. And it's fun because, maybe in your class, there's somebody who's actually worked for any of these companies, or I'm sure at least the same industry. Another advantage, I would say, of this case study approach, what Hong Kong U has, is that you're able to really learn at an individual level, at a small group level, and at a large group level. How do you do that? So once the case study is given to you, first you need to analyze the case. You need to make certain points based on your understanding about that case, about that area of business, that particular industry. But then your learning could be as much, because you're just putting your own experience into place, or your own learning into place. But then in HKU, every class, pretty much every course, you will be working in small groups, similar to what we do in real life, right? In real life, in office, we just don't sit by ourselves. We work together. So that's what we are going to replicate here. So once you sit together in a smaller group, you start learning from each other. You realize that maybe the angle, what you were taking towards the case, probably could have been interpreted in a way different way. Maybe somebody in your group is thinking from a very different angle. So that's a great learning. And then you need to present these case studies to a larger group, to your class, where the professor plays a very important role in managing the conversation. But then there are more inputs from your other classmates, and that's how we grow the mechanism of cases from individual learning to small group to a large group. And we do believe in this process, over a period of time, you're really able to learn much more than just sitting and doing your case analysis by yourself, or just doing a very typical a class, which is one-way street where professor is teaching you. That doesn't happen in Hong Kong U. Lots of interaction, lots of group work. So in terms of our teaching faculty, it could be divided into 3 parts. Of course, the core courses will be taught by the HKU professors. They are very, they have done their research in that particular subject. They have very good knowledge about that particular subject. But for a lot of our electives, we bring in industry leaders. So for example, your management consulting class will be taught by Marcus, who used to work for BCG and Bain. And later on, he was the director of strategy for Volkswagen. So he brings in real consulting experience to the class. Or fintech. Fintech will be taught by Henry. Henry Aslian is a partner with PwC in Hong Kong, and he looks after the Asia Pacific fintech practice for PwC. So he would be coming in and teaching you fintech. Or for example, global marketing and branding will be taught by Virginia Morris. She was the regional marketing director for Starbucks for Asia. So lots of such industry leaders, and of course our core faculty coming in. And for certain courses, we also bring in experts, even organizations. So we are developing a course on cryptocurrency, on blockchain. And for that, we are actually bringing in a crypto blockchain consulting company. So the partners of these consulting companies together, including their clients coming in and giving guest lecture, we'll be putting in some electives. Even for our AI for business, artificial intelligence for business, we actually work with an AI consulting company. So those experts of those consulting companies come in to teach you these courses. So very interesting mix of teaching faculty. So how does our curriculum look like? So again, our curriculum is a very interesting mix of, I talked about regional focus, Asia focus, which happens in Hong Kong. But at the same time, there's a very important component in our program where you will be able to go to London at London Business School, and you may also choose, if not London, to go to New York at Columbia Business School. So ours is a 1-year program, okay? Slightly longer than 1 year, but you can say a year program. And in this 1 year, you spend around 9 months in Hong Kong, and then you spend around 4 months, 3 to 4 months in either London at London Business School or in Columbia Business School in New York. Now, of course, there is also the Hong Kong track. If you think that, hey, I want to gain as much knowledge as possible, I'm looking at Hong Kong as a destination. So you can, of course, do the entire program in Hong Kong. Or you want to become a China expert. Then we also have a China track along with Fudan University in Shanghai. But as you know, Fudan University is one of the leading universities in China, one of the top business schools. So you can actually go to Shanghai and spend 3 to 4 months at Fudan for the China track. So you can see a very interesting structure. It's a 1-year program, around 9 months in Hong Kong, around 3 to 4 months in either London at LBS or New York at Columbia Business School, or you can have the Hong Kong China track, staying back in Hong Kong, completing the whole program in 1 year, or choosing to go to Shanghai at the Fudan University. So, and as you can see from your screen, August to March, pretty much the terms in Hong Kong, they take care of your Asia focus, core and plus electives. There is a strong element of executive development workshop. I will talk about it in a minute. And a strong component of China immersion. So we want to make sure that if you're coming to Hong Kong, if you're coming to this part of the world, you get really immersed in China. So you will be visiting cities like Shenzhen, which is across the board for the Greater Bay Area, which is going to be the next big thing in this part of the world. And of course, we will be also doing certain visits to Beijing, so you understand how the business works in China itself. Now, this is, of course, when the borders are open, when travel is smooth, but we are hoping that next year it will be okay. But if not, then there are enough elements in Hong Kong for us to do the China immersion. And of course, the career services plays a very important role. And I'm going to cover that in my next few slides as to how the career services comes in along with your core and electives and your curriculum. And then you can see on your screen, March to August, you'll be either in London at LBS or New York in Columbia, or of course, you can stay back in Hong Kong or go to China track in Fudan. Now, a lot of people have this question that, okay, how this is going to work? So this is not an exchange. So that means that you do not have to start the program, then apply for an exchange, and then subject to London or Columbia or Fudan sending someone, you can go. No, it doesn't work that way. For us, this is a very critical, important part and an integral part of our MBA experience. So when you apply for the HKU MBA, you tell us what's your choice. What's your first choice? You want to go to London, second choice, New York, third choice to stay back in Hong Kong. Okay. Or maybe the first choice is Columbia, second China, third London. So you tell us that. And during the interview, during the admission interview, we try to gauge what's the best choice for you. And when you get an offer from HKU MBA, you will know you got the offer from HKU MBA, whether it's the London track, whether it's the New York track, or whether it's the Hong Kong / China track. Okay, so this is, again, we work with you. So your choice is very important for us. We work with you to make sure that this 1 year experience is going to be really tremendous. Now, I talked about, of course, the curriculum is important, courses are important, but we work very closely with our recruiters. We work very closely with the, I would say, the corporate world. And a lot of feedback has come that the soft skills should be, or executive development skills must be part of the core curriculum. So that's why we have made this change. These kind of workshops are no longer a hat on top of it. No, it's the integral part of who you are. So business communication, presentation skills, problem solving and critical thinking skills, high performing teams and collaboration skills, and of course, managerial leadership and executive presence. So these are the 4 pillars. And within that, they will be we will supplementing it with some other topics. So want to make sure that this becomes part of your curriculum. It's not an afterthought. It's embedded into our overall curriculum so that you get the best possible executive development skill sets. Of course, the technical skill sets in terms of whether you want to be in finance, marketing, strategy, that's going to come. That's going to come through the courses. But we thought that this is a very, very critical part, and it cannot be outside of the curriculum. It has to be embedded into the curriculum. I talked about career services. This is very, very critical because career services for full-time students is very important. So we have a proper career services, and these career services are exclusively for the full-time MBA students. Very important part of our MBA program is that it's a small class size. So if you are looking for a school where you really get one-to-one attention from your professors, from the MBA office, from the career services team, especially, then our school would be the best possible fit, okay? Because you are going to get a lot of opportunities in terms of executive coaching. We bring in lots of companies to come on campus so that you understand what these organizations are all about, what kind of MBA roles are possible. We have a very strong learning and development division, which will coach you from how to make a better CV, how to present yourself better, how to do the interviews better, how to search for different industries, how to know more about the industry. We bring in a lot of coaches, leaders to make sure that you get a lot of knowledge. We do have a mentorship program as well. And under the mentorship program, each one of you will be given a very senior executive as a mentor. We do a fair deal of matching connected to your thoughts on where you want to go, what's your background. And these senior people are really able to guide you as to what career option you should be making, how you should be presenting yourself, what's that industry all about, and so on and so forth. We also have a buddy system. Under this, recent alumni are going to be your buddies who are going to help you out with their knowledge about their MBA experience, during the MBA studies, what to do, what are some of the pitfalls, and then how to approach organizations, how to work with career services, and so on and so forth. So as you can see, there's a proper timeline. From July onwards, we even start working with you before you land in Hong Kong, because you need to land in Hong Kong around August, but we want to make sure that your CV is ready even before that, because the companies start coming to the campus. It's a one-year program. So the companies start coming to the campus quite early. So we want to make sure that, you go through that process of personal coaching, CV, MBA recruitment, how to go through that, executive coaching, as I said, mentorship program. All these will be covered by October. And then we actually start, business networking, company visits, career fair. So even earlier this year, October 16th or 18th is the career fair, where a lot of companies come in to talk with our potential candidates. And of course, regularly the jobs have been posted. So both jobs, full-time jobs and internships are posted on our job portal. So we have a fairly strong job portal where a lot of companies are able to post. A lot of alums also post jobs on such portal, both jobs and internships. Okay, so a lot's happening in terms of career services. And as I said, because it's a small group of class, we only take around 50 to 55 students. You really get a lot of personalized attention. So this is a kind of a general view. We do a lot of headhunter talks. A lot of headhunters come and talk about what's the job market right, job alerts. We do a lot of learning and development workshops, company visits, mock interviews. We really prepare you well for that. Lots of networking events with potential partners. We give you free LinkedIn premium, mentorship, coaches from all sectors and industry, how to tell a story. So all these things come together as part of the career services. So I talked about mentorship program. So this kind of slide just kind of tells you how it's going to work. Once you make an application for it, we do a one-to-one matching. And then the mentor plays a very important role in terms of learning about different career paths, different industry. Of course, also they coach you on networking strategies, and they share their own experience about how have they taken care of the business challenges, what are some of the solutions, and all these things, including the buddy program, they help you to better prepare. Our career report for the last 2 years has been fantastic. In spite of COVID, there are tremendous opportunities in this part of the world. I think one of the very important aspects which I like to share with you is Hong Kong is one of the very few places in the world where there is no visa issue. after you finish your MBA, after your student visa is done, you get what we call an IANG visa. That means you get your own work visa in Hong Kong. It's a great system. So companies, organizations do not have to do anything. They need to not sponsor your visa. You have your own visa. That means you can also change jobs very easily because this is your own visa. You can also work for a startup, or you can start your own business if you want. So these elements are really good because I think that makes Hong Kong a very good destination as such, because there's no visa issue. So you can see that, 3 months of graduation, our employment rate has been 90%. 75% are able to change their job functions. 90% of our students actually secure jobs in Asia. 55% of the class did internship. And again, very high percentage of people were able to change their industry and change the location. I think this is also very critical, changing the location part. So you can see the overall career report is extremely strong. I guess a couple of things have played a very important role. One, as I said at the start of the presentation, the overall reputation and recognition of HKU MBA. Second, really a small class size, which gives you a very good learning experience and that one-to-one interaction with career services. An absolutely dedicated career services. We have a fairly big team for only 55 people and a very clear learning and development strategy. And of course, because of Hong Kong U's name, we are able to attract the right sets of organizations. This is 2021, people who just graduated in August, right? We are just like 1.5 months from their graduation, and you can see that quite a good company. So they've got jobs from BCG to Citi, KPMG, Schneider, Euromonitor, Zurich, Gucci, and so on and so forth. This is just a partial list, just few names for you to know. All right, so nearly coming to an end of the presentation, then we'll have the Q&A session. I'll just kind of summarize what I talked about. So you can see it's a 1-year intensive program, very unique structure with around 9 months in Hong Kong, then around 3 to 4 months either in London at LBS or in Columbia Business School in New York, or you can choose to be in Hong Kong or go to China to Fudan University. We have a very strong China immersion program so that you understand this part of the world very well. Absolutely dedicated career services. I talked about both mentorship and buddy program. Mentors are very senior executives. They'll be matched one-to-one. Buddies are a group of our recent alumni who will be also giving you advice on not just career, but also your MBA experience. Hong Kong U is a very collaborative and interactive culture. So you must be aware of this because I think the culture of the schools define your MBA experience. For those who are looking at entrepreneurship or those who want to know how to start a business, we actually work with Cyberport. Cyberport is one of the biggest funds and organization funded by the Hong Kong government to encourage entrepreneurship. So we are actually located at Cyberport. So just across the business school is going to be our entrepreneurial incubation lab. So we actually work with Cyberport to make sure that our students get the best idea on how to develop a business plan, get funding, and if need be, some of our alums, if they do well, they not just get funding, but they get enrolled into the Cyberport incubation program, which is a very structured program in terms of giving you resources, office space, and funding to develop your entrepreneurship skills to the next level. We follow a case-based approach, as I mentioned, and of course, Hong Kong U has a very widespread alumni base, so your network is going to be extremely strong. We do a lot of professional activities. We do a lot of leadership talk from, asking senior executive from say Walmart, Starbucks, Alibaba, Geox, Google, Calvin Klein, World Trade Organization, HSBC to come in and give a talk on a particular subject area. We also do both hybrid online activities as well in today's time to make sure that you also learn from our alumni around the world. So we might have alumni in San Francisco, in New York, in London, Frankfurt, in Singapore, and we use the technology now to make sure that you also get learning through such hybrid or online activities. Lots of activities in Hong Kong, from lots of CSR events to, of course, students and alums gathering for drinks. We do hiking together. Hong Kong is a great place to hike. We do sports together. We do indoor golf, craft beer experiences, whiskey tasting, all kinds of events to make sure that everybody comes together. There'll be a lot of interaction you will have with not just your classmates, but also with the part-time MBA, because part-time MBA, the electives will be a common pool. So you'll be doing a lot of your studies along with our executives who are working in Hong Kong. So that's another way to get to know senior executives and work closely with them. So admissions, pretty much the last slide. And how do we look at the admission? We look at it in a very holistic manner, okay? So we look at your undergraduate degree. We, of course, the GMAT GRE score is required for full-time MBA. And then if your first degree, I must repeat, if your undergraduation, or in some cases, if your master's was not taught in English, then you need to do English exam. But for example, if you have graduated from UK, Australia, US, or India, or Singapore, you do not have to give the English exam, because we know in these countries, the medium of instruction is in English. But if you are coming from other countries where the medium of instruction was not English, then you need to give the TOEFL or IELTS. And we require a minimum of 2 years work experience. And this 2 years is calculated when you're going to start your MBA, okay? So in August 2022, which is the next batch, you should have around 2 years of work experience to actually be eligible for our MBA. So we look at these factors, right? But how do we make the admission decision? We make admission decision based on the 4 factors. We look at which university have you graduated from. Our emphasis is not so much on the GPA, but it's on the reputation of your previous university. Of course, we look at the GMAT and GRE score, but the 2 factors which are really more important is the quality of work experience. I repeat, is the quality of the work experience and the interview performance. So the quality of work experience and the interview performance, I would say, have much larger weightage than your previous undergraduate degree or your master degree or your GMAT GRE score. Of course, one factor can compensate for another, right? If you think, hey, I have only 2 years experience and maybe not that strong work experience, then maybe you need to have a higher GMAT or GRE to kind of balance that. Or if you think that, hey, I graduated from really a great university, so then maybe having a little bit lower GMAT or GRE with substantial number of years of experience, quality experience, again, is more, I would say, can be balanced. So this is how we look at the admission. Again, I will repeat that the admission process is quite dependent on the interview. Okay, so the interview is really important component, and interview is done on a one-to-one basis, and interview is done similar to what a job interview would be. Okay, the tuition fee for this whole program, this 1-year program, including the London, Columbia, or the Fudan part, the tuition fee is Hong Kong dollar 588,000. Okay, that's the tuition fee in Hong Kong dollars. We do have a fairly large number of scholarships, and scholarship and admission decision is taken exactly same time, so that we are very transparent based on the same parameters: undergraduate degree, GMAT GRE score, quality of work experience, interview performance. Okay, and then we make both admission decision and scholarship decision. Typically, I would say scholarship will be anything between, say, 20% to around 40% of the tuition fee. So 40% would be, of course, very few cases on the higher side, but we do have that range from, say, 20% to 40% would be the scholarship band, to say so. And yes, you do not have to apply for scholarship separately. All the students who apply for the admission and are considered for admission would be also considered for scholarship. Okay. We do admission on a rolling basis. That means as applications come in, and as the applications are already coming in, we start doing the interview, we start making the offers. Of course, the next round deadline as a hard deadline will be 26th of November. And at this stage, you do not have to have the GMAT or GRE, or if you need to give the TOEFL, you can send your documents, your references, your GMAT, GRE at a later stage, okay? What we mean by this deadline is, or what we say in rolling basis, get your application in. If you believe that this is the program for me, this is something very interesting for me, get your application in, and then our admission office will guide you on how to, when to give your GMAT, GRE, when to give your other documents, including 2 reference letters, okay? So that's about from me. If you want to have one-to-one admission Skype chats with us, you can just capture this on your scan, and you can either do it on 21st of October or on the 28th of October, okay? So we do have one-to-one Skype chat. So at any point, and if these 2 dates are not suitable for you, no worries, just write to us. And then if you go to our website, we have an email, we have a system for you to register for these one-to-one Skype chats. And I will strongly encourage you to do that so that you can understand the program better. You can understand who we are better, okay? So that's what is from my side. I've tried to cover a bit of everything, and now I'll be very happy to take any questions, okay? So I'm going to stop sharing this. There you go.
Perfect. And thank you so much. So as folks are formulating questions, because that was a lot of information, I want to thank you for walking through all of that. I learned a bunch. I know I was paying attention. I was impressed by a few different factoids and some of the things that you shared, especially, with the case studies, the diversity of the different industries and different companies that are represented. But that was pretty interesting. The fact that you have all the immigration figured out, I mean, that's just a headache for students at a lot of different schools. So I think that's a huge plus for anybody who is not, local to Hong Kong that is going to travel there to study. That is a fantastic benefit. So do not take that for granted, anybody in this room. And we did have a question that came through. So I will ask that aloud for the rest of the folks who are still here. If you do have a question, there's kind of multiple ways you can submit questions. You can type them into the Q&A box, you can type them into the chat, or you can hit the raise hand button and we will unmute you. If you have access to a microphone on your device and you want to ask your question aloud, those are kind of the 3 different ways. So the first one that came through is actually, I love it. It's a great question about kind of the timeline on admission and how it relates to being allowed to enter Hong Kong. So how many months before the program begins can someone actually get to Hong Kong? So if they were to start for the 2022 program, what would your answer be?
I think it's important to understand that the immigration will not allow you on student visa to come too much ahead because it doesn't work that way, because we need to give timelines to the immigration. So your student visa has to be activated probably, a maximum I can imagine is 2 or 3 weeks before the program starts. But of course, you can enter Hong Kong first on a tourist visa. You just have to do a visit back to, say, Macau to reactivate your student visa. So you can come in to Hong Kong, you can, depending upon your nationality, you can decide whether you want to come ahead or not. But in my view, to learn the language or to learn the culture, don't worry, the program is well structured. You start on time, we will make sure that you have all the training. In fact, part of our training is also Mandarin training. So you do get language training as well. I missed that point because there's so much to offer in our program that's really difficult to cover. And then internship, again, my always point is don't start your internship too early because you don't know much about this place. Come in, spend 3 months in Hong Kong, learn something new, and then the career services will help you get the right opportunities starting maybe December, okay? So give yourself a time. Don't be in a hurry and rush to jump into certain things. MBA, it's a process. It's a well-structured program. There's a thought process behind why there's certain timelines. So my suggestion would be that, don't preempt things. Come earlier if you want on a tourist visa to feel the city, to get to know the city. and then activate your student visa and start the process with us. We will get it done for you. So don't worry about that, right?
That's great. And the rest of the context of that question, which this person decided to share with us, they do want to get used to Hong Kong life. So you already answered that piece. And they want to study the language, which you also answered. So I guess you've gotten this question before. And then they've never lived in Hong Kong, but they have lived in Japan. So so not too far away, at least that area of the world. So very, very good stuff. And Hong Kong is a fantastic city for folks who have not been one time, but I remember a lot of it. Victoria's Peak, is that the high point, right? We could see the whole city from up there.
So we are the only school in Hong Kong. I mean, I'm looking at the next question, which is what's your advantage over other business school located in Hong Kong? To start with, location. It's all location, location, location. If you know Hong Kong, Susie, Hong Kong U is the only school which is located on Hong Kong Island. That means everything becomes easier. Networking becomes easier because you're in central business district in 10 minutes, which means internship becomes easier because then from school to offices or wherever you're doing internship is an easy ride. But going beyond the location, as I explained in my presentation, what are some of our advantages? The structure. No school, forget about Hong Kong. How many schools in the world in 1 year gives you this experience of being in Hong Kong, getting your Asia knowledge, traveling to China, getting China immersion, then having the choice to go to either London at LBS, which is one of the top schools, or to Columbia Business School in New York, another top school. This structure is unique. Forget about Hong Kong. Not many schools around the world are able to replicate this. And this is not an exchange, right? As I said, Susie, because this is what is an integral part of it. So there's no question mark. So there's no thing like, oh, once I enter, then I need to apply, then I need to fight with my classmates to get the best exchange. No, you know you're coming in, you're in the London track, you're in the New York track, or if you're interested in China, in the Fudan track. So this, we believe, is a great advantage. Location, structure. Third big advantage I talked about is about a small class size. You're not student number 122. You're not student number 233. You are Susie. Everybody knows you. Everybody knows who you are, where you're coming from, what are you looking for, what's your experience is going to be, and how we can make it better. That for me is absolutely a differentiating point. So I can go on and on, but I think these three makes all the difference.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And Hong Kong, just the diversity within that city. For people again who haven't been there, who don't realize, I mean, you stumble across every nationality, type of person. It's such a melting pot. So not only the classroom be diverse, but just walking around the city, I mean, you find a little bit of every culture as you walk around. So very, very nice.
Job-wise, it's a great place, really. I mean, I talked about the visa, which makes it easier, but overall, Hong Kong economy is a very strong, resilient economy. And Hong Kong is really based on having the right talent to take it further. So we appreciate that. I mean, you can see I'm not from Hong Kong. I'm not from even from this part of the world. I am from India, but I have been here. I've been a student, as Mike said. I came like you I decided to go to Hong Kong, do my MBA. And it was for well thought of, because I really wanted to see to be in a very international city, to be not in a national market, but in a more international regional market. And I was able to achieve that because Hong Kong really gives importance to talent. It's all about talent in the city. If you have the right skill set, if you're well trained, if you have a brand like HKU backing you up, there are plenty of opportunities out here. Not just your first opportunity, but grow over a period of time. And that's why if you go to our website, you'll see a lot of alumni stories. We have wonderful videos, lots of connections related to our alumni. I would suggest have a look at it. And then you'll realize that, wow, what a vibrant and great place Hong Kong is.
So I'm putting into the chat here, if we do have any other additional questions, we have time for like one or two more. So if folks do have any other ones, I want to make sure we leave some time to get to those. Again, in the Q&A box, in the chat, or you can hit the raise hand and we'll call on you. I guess like a classroom. And so I can ask a question just because I'm curious, right? So if you were to give a tip to folks in this room who may be looking to apply, right? So we already had a few folks who said they might be looking to apply. Applications are sometimes tricky and they're difficult and they're stressful. What's your advice as somebody who reads a lot of these applications to anyone in the room who is looking to apply to HKU?
I would say that make sure that you represent yourself well. And what I mean by that is make sure that you're able to really tell us who you are. And we are looking for people who come from different walks of life. If we do not follow formula, maybe some schools follow a very rigid formula, but we believe for a class of 55 or even 50, if we follow a formula, we'll have lookalikes. And lookalikes cannot add to your overall MBA experience. And that's why we are looking for diversity. We are looking for people coming from who look and feel very different. So be yourself in your application, represent yourself, and trust your judgment about who you are. And then I'm sure during the interview, you'll be able to represent yourself better because you're not trying to be somebody else, you know. And our school, at least for our school, we are looking for that diversity. We're looking for you, not a formula. So please keep that in mind. And another tip I will give you is take advantage of talking with our admission officers. We have this system of Skype chats. If you're in Hong Kong, we can have a coffee with you. Please visit our campus if you're in Hong Kong. If you're not in Hong Kong, please make sure that you connect with us. Then we can also connect you to our alumni, especially somebody who comes from similar background as you or coming from the same country or even same city. And you can then meet our alumni in whichever city or whichever country you are. We can also make those connections. So talk to us. The more you connect with us, the more we will be able to help you out with your admission process.
You know, one thing we hear from some admissions reps when we do these types of events is that admissions directors such as yourself are looking for reasons to admit, not reasons to deny an applicant. It sounds like you probably agree with that. So I'll leave that for folks because I think the tip to reach out, to talk to people, to not be afraid of the admissions office. I think that's something that needs to definitely be said. I read things in these forums online. Everyone's afraid of the admissions team. That we're here to help, right? Everyone's here to help and answer questions and do events like this where we can reach more than one person at a time and deliver some great information. And I guess with that, you know, we can probably wrap. Is there any last thing you want to leave folks with before we wrap?
I would just say that if you are looking for a program where, again, I repeat, you're going to get personalized attention, a well-structured program, and a program which is working very closely with the market. That means with the corporates, with the recruiters, then I would say our program fits in well. Again, Hong Kong U is a very strong brand name. It's very well reputed. So the recognition part is something which is given. So I do believe that all these combination of factor makes our program quite a strong program. So if you're looking at Hong Kong, you're looking at 1-year program, good structure, market driven, then probably ours will be a good choice. Thank you.
That's awesome. Yeah, I like it. If I could do it again, it sounds like a great option. So I hope some folks here will be applicants soon, rolling admissions. So once those applications are ready, send them in. Preferably before that November, was it November 11th? I think I saw as a deadline, right? So
anytime in November will be great.
There we go. So about a month away or so, depending on which time zone you're in, a month, maybe a little less than a month at this point. But lots of luck to everyone who's applying. Sachin, thank you so much for this session. This was great. And again, for everyone, we will send this recording out so you can watch it again, share it with your friends, colleagues, family, and hopefully we'll see you all at future events.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day, night, evening.
Thanks, Mike.